Hi, Hillary here. I'm going to show you how to use AI to generate good questions for a critical inquiry project. Now, the great thing about AI, besides being fast, is it will make connections and pull up different ideas that you may never have thought of before. It's completely uninhibited in bringing together 2 or 3 different things to create an idea. And Claude is great at generating questions. And of course, another reason to use AI is it's going to be so important in the workplace. Future employers will ask you, do you know AI? How did you use AI to improve this project? What can you teach us about AI? So it's a great time now to get really comfortable with all the tools. So let's say you have to write an inquiry project, a research paper, and you need to get started. 3 scenarios about getting started coming up with an idea. First scenario, you've drawn a blank. You've got no idea what you're going to write about. So tell AI, this is a little bit about myself. This is the criteria of the project. These are my 3 passions. Generate some ideas for me. Second is you have an idea, but it needs to be fixed a little bit. Maybe you want to write about climate change. You know that's too broad. AI, I want to write about climate change. Here's the criteria of the project, my passions, my interests. Can you refine it into, okay, give me a list of refined questions so I can have a limited project on climate change. Or third, check an idea. I know exactly what I want to write about AI. It's does bergamot lower cholesterol? Just check for me, does that fit the project criteria? Here are the criteria. Does it fit? Now, once you've used AI to create a list of questions and you've picked your favorite one, don't stop there. You think about how to make this question more personal, more local, more special to you. Remember, you want to be passionate about this project because that will motivate you to do your best work. Now, everybody's learning about AI, and so things will change. But right now, some tips that seem to work for me to get good results out of AI are to talk to it like a person and give it a good amount of information. AI, I need a recipe. I only have 20 minutes. I want something light. I've got onions and frozen turkey in my refrigerator. Please give me some recipes. Good amount of information like a person, so don't be all academic. Just be clear, straightforward. But remember to be creative. AI is not creative. AI collects and combines words. But you, in your creating the prompt that you give to AI, that's where the creativity comes in. You use your creativity to create the prompt and see what comes out of the word machine. And of course, experiment. Again, we're all still learning about AI. Now, the most successful prompts for generating questions in Claude will give Claude as much information as you can about yourself and about your assignment. So here's my prompt that I used. I even included a short story about a recent hike I took because that hike sparked in me an interest that I might be able to use for my critical inquiry project. Recently, I went for a hike in Southern California and noticed that a local group of hikers were trying to get oak seedlings started along the trail. I think this is an effort to restore the area after a fire. Each hiker took charge of watering 1 seedling over the year. This interesting observation has gotten me interested in knowing how effective grassroots environmental restoration efforts really are. Now, I am an undergraduate in an introductory course on critical thinking. I have to research, write, and present a project for this class on a topic of my choosing. The criteria for the inquiry question are that it must be in the form of a question, be focused and specific, be controversial / as yet unanswered, and important, be neutrally worded, be interesting to me so that I am passionate enough or interested enough in the topic to carry it out through a semester-long project, be a topic for which there is applicable primary scientific research available. 3 interests that I have are the effect / success of local environmental restoration projects, needlework, and bicycling. I just pulled 3 things together that I'm interested in, talked a little bit about the first one. Please create a list of 30 possible critical inquiry questions based on the criteria and interests listed so that I could use to begin my inquiry project. Okay, return. Okay, and here are the different questions that it returned. You know, interestingly enough, the first time I tried this, I got more interesting questions. So I am going to retry it and see what happens. Retry. I tried again and it was still too much for me. So this time I asked for Claude to group the inquiry questions by interest. And it was just a little more organized and not quite so overwhelming. And I did find some really interesting questions. For example, how does community involvement affect participants' long-term environmental behavior? To be honest, the first time I tried it, when I didn't have my sound on, I got some really good ones as well. Under needlework, I have how does needlework affect cognitive function? How does it participate in preserving cultural heritage, improving social connectivity, stress reduction? How does the revival of traditional needlework techniques influence sustainable fashion trends? What impact does needlework education have on fine motor skills? Does it have an economic impact on local economies? Mental health therapy? Pain perception. So lots of different connections to needlework. And under bicycling, what role do e-bikes play in expanding cycling accessibility? How does childhood cycling affect lifelong transportation choices? How do different types of cycling infrastructure affect cyclist safety? And does regular cycling influence cardiovascular health? So some good starts. So Claude has asked me if it would like me to elaborate on any of these questions or suggest ways to refine them further, but I'm going to ask for another list. I'm going to tell them the 6 that I like the best and ask for more like them. The 6 questions I liked the best were the questions about local conservation efforts and their effect on biodiversity as well as their effect on watershed health. With regard to needlework, its effect in promoting cultural heritage and also its use in stress reduction. And as far as bicycling, its effect on urban traffic congestion and urban air quality. Those were the questions I liked the best. So let's see what happens if I just say, I like those questions, please generate 20 more like these. So interestingly, in these 20 new questions, there are sort of half on community-led restoration projects and half on health, either health related to bicycles or health related to needlework. So I'm going to pick a couple and ask them to expand. I've written, please expand on number 9, which is how does the community-based butterfly garden initiatives affect local pollinator populations? Do they work, actually? And number 13, how does implementation of bike-friendly school routes impact childhood obesity rates? See what it says. So what Claude has given me is a list of 10 aspects to consider. Some background or some definitions and categories like native versus non-native plants, some background information like different types of pollinators, some factors that would impinge on the success of the butterfly garden, other interesting thoughts like educational component, challenges to maintenance, potential for scaling up. All different interesting aspects. I won't necessarily include them all, of course, in my project. And for the bike one, again, 10 different things, some definitions, some background, some factors, confounding factors. Great stuff. So I really like that question about locally initiated butterfly gardens and do they actually have an effect on biodiversity? But remember, AI is not perfect. AI makes mistakes. So now I have to go and check, does that question generated by AI actually fulfill the criteria that I gave it in my prompt? The first time I tried this, I got a really fascinating question as a suggestion, and it was, how can we use crochet-based building techniques, building techniques to create sustainable low-income housing? And I thought, oh my gosh, is that a thing? Crochet-based building techniques to build sustainable housing? So excited about it. I went and looked on the internet and actually there wasn't anything on it. It was not a thing. These photos you're looking at are actually art installations on top of already built buildings. AI had just invented it. It did lead me on some really interesting rabbit holes, one on something called yarn bombing and one on different types of sustainable structures. But, you know, rabbit holes can be really helpful and exciting adventures, or they can really be time suckers. So if you do end up on a rabbit hole, just remember to think, is this something I really want to follow, or is this just pulling my time from other stuff. So in addition to finding out if something actually exists, remember that one of the criteria for my project is there has to be sufficient scientific primary research on the topic. So I'm going to need to go and check using a different tool to find out if there actually is research, if people actually looked into this topic, and that requires a different AI tool, possibly Consensus, different tool, different how-to video. Also, before I leave Claude, I'm going to copy and paste everything I've received, all the questions that it's generated, because the free version of Claude at this point doesn't save everything. So I'm going to save everything for me and then move on with my butterfly question. So I hope you've seen in this video that AI can be useful and helpful for generating ideas, that you create the creativity by including enough specific, unique information in your prompts, that you can retry and iterate your questions, and that whatever you take from AI, be sure to check it for completeness and accuracy. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.